Hello, welcome back to Jack and Wealth, and this is your host Jackson. Today we'll be talking about the history of Nigeria. We'll focus on certain aspects of Nigeria, that means the pre-amalgamated period and the post-amalgamated period, and also Nigeria in detail. Let's go. Before 1914, the amalgamation of the northern and southern protectorate, the region known as Nigeria, was a home to diverse ethnic groups. The political entities are complex and varies in governance and geographical demarcations. The geographical landscape of Nigeria's pre-colonial geography comprises of various ecosystems. Savanna in the north, forest in the south, and river basin such as River Niger and River Benue that connected the region. The geography influenced settlement pattern and trade. The northern region, primarily influenced by the Sahara, was a home to large city and state empires like the Hausas and the Fulani Sokotos caliphates, which thrived on sub-Saharan trade. The forested southern region, home to the Yorubas, the Igbos, and the Edos, have different kingdoms and trading routes that connected them to coastal areas and Atlantic economy. Politically, the territories were not unified under one nation, but Nigeria's landscape was dominated by different independent states and kingdoms. With a unique system of governance in the north, the Kamen Borno Empire and the Sokoto Caliphate was established in 1804 by the Fulani Jihad. We are centralized Islamic state with vast territories, which operated a feudal system where local emirs ruled under the authority of the caliph. Oyo Empire of the Yoruba people was a major political force until the 19th century alongside the Benin Kingdom, which had a highly centralized political structure, and it is renowned for its sophisticated art and trade with the Europeans. The Igbos, highly decentralized, organized their societies in village democracy. Unlike the northern states, the southern governance was less centralized, with leadership based on councils and elders rather than monarchies and caliphates. The European contact of the region, known as Nigeria, started in the 15th century with the arrival of the Portuguese. The Portuguese were the first European nation to extensively explore the coast of West Africa. Motivated by their search for wealth and new trade routes, the Portuguese interaction with the West African coast set a new stage which changed the landscape of African economic, political, and social structure. In the mid 1400s, the Portuguese explorers initiated trade with the West African society, including the Benin Kingdom and the Niger Delta region. Focusing on resources like gold, spices, and slaves, the Niger Delta region became a key region for trading posts and forts established. Initially, European trade with West Africa was balanced, exchanging clothes and firearms for ivory, pepper, and slaves. The 16th century rise of the transatlantic slave trade increased European presence in West Africa, with the Portuguese leading early slaves exports to the Americas, particularly Brazil. Coastal Nigerian communities like the Yorubas, the Igbos, and the Efiks acted as middlemen. By the 17th century, the Dutch, the French, and the British joined. Competing for dominance in the slave trade markets, Lagos, Calabar, and Bonny, the Kingdom of Benin benefited economically immensely. But the trade had long-term effects. Christian missionaries arrived in the 19th century, influencing the local communities. Britain gained control of southern Nigeria in the 19th century through treaties, using military force and diplomacy and exploiting internal conflicts, signing treaties with local rulers. By 1861, Lagos had become a British colony. During the 19th century scramble for Africa, the British expanded their control through military conquest, aided by the Niger Company, which led to the creation of the Northern Protectorate in 1900. European contacts, beginning with the Portuguese, shifted from trade to colonization and exploitation. By 19th century, Nigeria was firmly under British rule, impacting its political, social, and economical development. And wealth, and this is your host Jackson. Today we'll be talking about post-amalgamated Nigeria. Let's go. Nigeria, a country amalgamated in 1914 by British colonial authorities, gained independence in 1960. Amid high hope of becoming a beacon of progress and economic prosperity in Africa. However, the country's journey from independence to the present day has been marred by political corruption, economic instability, a devastating civil war, and the lingering effects of neocolonialism. Since independence, political corruption has been one of Nigeria's most significant challenges, contributing heavily to its economic downfall. Early Nigerian post-independence era, the country's political elites became involved with fierce power struggle, often along ethnic and regional lines. The 1960s saw the country governed by regional power. The northern region dominated by the Hausa Fulani, the western region dominated by the Yorubas, and the eastern region dominated by the Igbos. Corruption became entrenched as political leaders diverted public funds to themselves and their supporters. This set the stage for military coup in the year 1966, which marked the beginning of a long period of military rule. During military regime, corruption worsened due to the lack of accountability, which made leaders amass wealth due to their control of national resources. The transition to civil rule in 1999 did not end corruption. Successive democratic governments have struggled to tackle the entrenched system of graft, with political leaders often engaging in rent-seeking behavior, awarding contracts to political allies and mismanaging funds. This chronic mismanagement has further crippled Nigerian economy, leading to widespread poverty and underdevelopment, resulting in economic instability. The neglect of agriculture, once a major export sector, and widespread corruption prevented the investment in infrastructure, education, and industrial development, consequently leading to the country's economy and living standard to drop. The Civil War of 1967 to 1970, or a Biafran War, was a pivotal war fueled by ethnic, political, and economic tension, especially between the Igbo southeast and the Hausa Fulani north, following the 1966 military coup led by the Igbo officers. Counter-coup and ethnic violence erupted, leaving the Igbos feeling threatened in 1967. The Southeast declared independence as Biafra, sparking a 3 years brutal war. Between 1 to 3 million people, mostly civilians, died from starvation. The war ended in Biafra's defeat, but it left lasting scars, deepening ethnic division and distrust. Economically, southern region was devastated. Post-World War centralized and further marginalized certain regions. Oil, primarily located in the southeast, became a critical issue in national politics, heightening disputes in resource control. Neocolonialism continues to reshape Nigeria's independence challenge, particularly through the influence of Western countries such as the United Kingdom and the United States. Despite gaining independence in 1960, Nigeria remains subject to external pressure, especially the global financial institutions, the IMF and the World Bank. In 1980, Nigeria adopted a Structural Adjustment Program (SAP), which led to an austerity measure that crippled the economy. The salary of public sector and social services was reduced, and the removal of subsidy led to widespread unemployment, inflation, and poverty. Additionally, multinational companies, including Shell and ExxonMobil, have maintained control over vast Nigeria's oil resources. These companies have been accused of exploiting the nation's wealth while significantly causing environmental damage, especially in the Niger Delta region. Since 1914 amalgamation, Nigeria has faced political corruption, economic mismanagement, and ethnic tensions exacerbated by neocolonialism. Despite vast oil resources, the country struggles with poverty and instability as external influences undermines its economic sovereignty. The Civil War aftermath and entrenched corruption in public and private sectors have further hindered progress. Neocolonialism forces continue to limit Nigeria's control over its political and economic affairs. To move forward, Nigeria must address its internal challenges and exert control over its resources, reducing reliance on foreign power and fostering sustainable development.